Hello, my name is Alexandra Smith-Stalker. Today I would like to discuss with you my viewpoint regarding the ethics surrounding a case study. The case I am referring to is one in which a 30-year-old female by the name of Nancy Cruzan became brain dead after 6 to 20 minutes of lack of oxygen, which left her in a comatose and vegetative state. The resultant insult to the brain that is sustained after not receiving oxygen for a period of 6 minutes or longer will effectively put an individual in a vegetative state that the person cannot recover from. At this point, the individual is in a state where they are not able to respond to outside stimulus, and all actions are instead reflexive. When a patient is reduced to only conducting reflexive responses, I would argue there is no longer any attainable quality of life. Although Nancy may have still had some basic bodily function, she could not process or respond to any forms of communication or take care of herself. She would effectively expire if she did not have life-sustaining measures. Nancy had participated in informal decisions and discussions about her advanced directives with a friend. According to those reports, the state of living that she remained in after the accident is not one that she would have wished to continue living. The conditions that the accident left her in are in a direct disagreement with how she wished to live, and therefore her parents, who also served as her guardians, requested to have the gastronomy feeding tube that was keeping her alive removed and allow her to pass. The hospital declined to grant these wishes, causing her parents to seek suit. Trial court agreed with the parents and ruled in their interest. However, the Missouri Supreme Court ruled in opposition, overturning the previous ruling. They stated the feeding tube was only minimally invasive and the state's role in preservation of life was greater than the individual's right to refuse treatment. The state considered quality of life as something they were unconcerned about, as their concern was solely the preservation of life, not the quality of it. The state also decided the results of their rulings would set the precedent for similar cases and that the state would not allow discontinuing measures that might lead to the death of the individual, such as discontinuing feedings through the gastronomy tube, and that even vegetative life had to be preserved through artificial means. I believe the state's refusal to acknowledge an individual's right to privacy and right to self-determination is unethical, as they disregard this patient's free will. The state also argues that Nancy was not a dying or terminally ill patient, although without life-sustaining measures, the patient would surely expire before long. The state is exhibiting egoism in their decision-making, regulating individuals' decisions based on their own agenda and beliefs. I do not believe this to be ethical, as I believe everyone should have their own free will. As the philosopher Kant outlines in his moral principles, Kant believed in respecting each individual's dignity and respecting their freedom to choose for themselves. This is consistent with ideals surrounding the rights ethics. However, as one dives deeper into Kantian ethics, there are some conflicts. Kant states that when there is a conflict in rights, one must assess which right has priority. Kant believed that killing oneself is in direct violation with moral law, so one can assume he would not be permissive of assisted suicide and would instead agree with the Supreme Court ruling. However, one must consider that he was an 18th century philosopher and that he did not specifically outline rules regarding discontinuing life support. And because such a thing was not a possibility during the time in which he was alive, we can only hypothesize his ideas regarding such a situation. He endorses individuals' rights to freely choose, so this argument of suicide being in disagreement with moral law seems to conflict with many core Kantian ethics. If we were to translate Kantian ethics and also apply rights ethics to this situation, I believe the patient's verbal expression of her advanced directives and also her guardian's wishes should have superseded the hospital and also the court's ability to impose on the matter. I believe how the Supreme Court ruled is unethical and the patient's free will should have been respected. Thank you for listening to my assessment of this case study.